Hey guys, I'm going to do one more reading tonight, and this is a big one that I noticed tarot readers have been doing this one for a while, which is doing readings on Trump's health. Now, they were doing readings touching on his health even before he got diagnosed with this chronic venous insufficiency, which that's the one, the White House, I was very surprised they even talked about his health because they're always trying to say, oh, he's the epitome of health. He's 230 pounds and he's a stud. You know, that's what they were saying until it apparently got so bad they had to say something. Chronic venous insufficiency is a medical condition where the veins, most often in the legs, cannot effectively pump blood back to the heart. Oh, you mean he's got, you know, something with his heart? Maybe because it's cold-hearted? You know what I'm saying. This occurs because one-way valve inside the veins are damaged, but eating all that unhealthy food and stuff, and then blood leaking backwards and increased pressure. Symptoms can include leg swelling. We've all seen the cankles. And even when he met with Putin, you know, they were showing him on the red carpet zigzagging. It's like he couldn't walk steady, you know. And then we also know, I mean, the dementia, you know, they've been talking about his dementia for a while and stuff. But, you know, but even before that diagnosis, a lot of the tarot readers who read the political events have been like his health. They've been all saying the same thing. They feel something coming with his health. Now, you know, during the time, I mean, going back to COVID, you know, a lot of us were on the same page then too, said Biden would win. This election was kind of a trickier one. There was definitely some timeline shifts. So a lot of us were like, there's something weird happening with this election. So I digress. There were some things there. But there does seem to be an energy. It's weird. There's this buildup that seems to be getting stronger, though. You know, the cankles, the bruises, the makeup on the hands. It's like they're trying to hide it. And then he was at that, that fighting event, and he clearly had a catheter. Okay? So, you know, it's very bizarre. So let's just pull some cards. Let's just check it out, see what Spirit has to say about his health. I don't always read health. It's not always my favorite thing. I am not a doctor. I just want to go ahead and give that disclaimer. We're just looking at cards to see what Spirit has to say about Trump's health. Is it concerning, or is he going to be Teflon Don? And it is kind of weird. Let me come up for this one. He was recently talking about getting into heaven. Maybe if I could get people to stop doing this, that, I could get into heaven. I have to admit, it was kind of a strange thing. He said I think I'm kind of low on the totem pole and I'm trying to get into heaven, maybe get that Nobel Peace Prize. You know, so maybe, you know, when he gets to the pearly gates, he can hold up a Nobel Peace Prize and be like, look what I got, let me in. You know, what the fuck is going on? There's some things going there, but, you know, he's Trump. I mean, he's going to say weird shit. But anyway, people have been kind of trying to decipher, you know, what he was saying. But let's kind of see what's up with, you know, the Orange Menace and his health and stuff. You know, I haven't read his health yet. I just, you know, wishful thinking. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just teasing, you know, but, you know, come on. You know what I'm saying. And everything. Page of Pentacles is popping up in here, which can be the announcer, okay, is one of the things about that. And yes, Pentacles can be related to health at times. So we've definitely had an announcement of certain things going on with his health. Okay, so we're kind of aware of it and things like that. So kind of look at that, you know. And I mean, I was a little surprised that they said anything about his health. He seems to be very private about it. But I feel like some of the things were so incredibly visible that they had no choice but to say something. It's kind of weird. But then we'll talk about J.D. Vance in a minute. So we got this kind of Three of Wands energy. This makes me feel that people behind him, okay, are kind of trying to think about the long term. But I also notice this is the Three of Wands. Is he only going to go 3 years? We got to kind of look at that. It's very kind of interesting. But other people, this can be about long term, getting to the promised land, that kind of energy, and stuff. And it's like, are people like, are we going to make it a full 4 years? I feel like people are planning in advance some things, a just in case scenario if something goes wrong with his health. There does seem to be an energy. People are awake, aware, and alert of some things here. Okay? Let's kind of go and see what's going on there and stuff. Then we got Seven of Pentacles. And Six of Cups energy. Now, Six of Cups very often, this is interesting, very often pretty much in all of the tarot, shows an older person and a younger person. Okay, so we've got that energy. We know J.D. Vance is the younger person and Trump is the older person. And the older person it's actually the younger person is holding the cup here, and we've got the older person here. So there is an energy there. Are they preparing JD because they know something that they're not revealing to the public on Trump's health? Okay, there is some interesting energy there. And then we've also got the Seven of Pentacles. That card can be about a poor harvest. We definitely know that there is a lot of struggle in the economy and a lot of people are suffering and things like that. There is that going on. So what's the overlapping card in here? Very interesting. It's very interesting. We've got the Four of Wands reverse and stuff, now we have the Three of Wands here, and then we've got a reversal of the Four of Wands. How many years does a president go normally? 4 years. There's a reversal here. Okay, and the Four of Wands, when it reverses, can also be an instability. Okay, so that's very interesting. There is some things coming up here. What do we got? And stuff. And we've got the Six of Pentacles reversed. Really no surprises there. We've got this kind of the rich, the poor. There's some karma there for that. Okay? We clearly know, I mean, in this one it shows somebody well-to-do, giving just a little chump change to the poor here. This other one has a handout there. This kind of makes me feel there's some karma from the powers that be, because the Big Beautiful Bill gave to the rich and then took from the poor. Notice it's a reversal. So it's actually the coins in the beggar's hand, the poor one, are falling into the rich person's hand. Does everybody see that there? Look at it this way. You see how the beggar's change is falling into the rich person's hands? That's in the past position because the Big Beautiful Bill is done. And the powers that be, and I'm talking about high above, okay, like in the spiritual world, are like, that's a bad move, my man. So as far as him wanting to get into heaven, okay, all right. And also what's going on in Gaza and all those other things. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, as I say that, the Hierophant reverses here. Oh my God. Yeah, the powers that be, like, you want to get into heaven. Okay, that's, very often we look at him as the Pope. No can do, sir. Okay, and a lot of it you took from the poor. Okay, I mean, the beggar is literally letting the change fall into the rich person's hands. Okay, that's one bad move and everything. It's kind of interesting and stuff like that. And we've got the Four of Swords reversed. Now, interesting. It does look, one of the things about the Four of Swords, it always looks like a guy laying on the coffin. There is a reversal. So it's interesting because we've got a number 4 here, but we've got 3 swords on the wall. And so I'm kind of like, looking at 3 here is interesting. Okay, so looking at the guy laying on a coffin, there is kind of an energy. It's like, a lot of people are worried that he's going to get a second term, a third term. or actually it'd be a third term and a fourth term, let me correct. It's not looking too good, guys. Let's see and stuff what we've got there. Since Queen of Cups is popping up in his position, that is pointing me more to a time frame. I mean, I would say more when we get into Pisces month, we may see more things with the health and stuff. And then no surprise, he would get something like the Four of Pentacles in his position. It's kind of crazy because he's facing his mortality and health, but he's still trying to get as much money as he can. Okay, so let's see what's in the environment and stuff. Now, I just have to laugh. Temperance this is the way a lot of people feel. Now, I'm just trying to be real in my reading. There are those that are like, it's a waiting game. Okay, this can be about patience, divine timing, and things like that. And I know people, what it is really, I don't think people are necessarily wishing him bad things. They just want the chaos to come to an end, the drama, the yuckiness. They're exhausted. I just did a video on people being exhausted. There are people waiting. They're like waiting for it. Okay? Just saying. And y'all, I mean, I understand. Okay? And stuff. And the King of Wands energy is popping up in there. I think he's losing his vitality, his life force energy and stuff. Let's kind of go ahead and see. Some things are keeping him up at night. I've got the Knight of Swords. So he's definitely facing maybe that whole I want to get to heaven type of energy is coming up in there. Okay, maybe he's hoping his stable coin will get him in there. I'm just kidding. And stuff. So, Ten of Pentacles reverse. Well, one of the things Spirit's saying kind of loud and clear, all the money in the world can't buy you into heaven. Let's pull one more. And stop. Three Pentacles. Yeah, he can't negotiate. That's the one deal he can't make. He wants to be the great negotiator. Spirit's he wants to be the great negotiator. I can make a deal here. I can make a deal there. But you can't make a deal to get into heaven. That's one thing, Spirit's like, that's one thing you can't do. Okay? And stuff. So, it's kind of crazy. Is some of his energy, like him talking about getting into heaven and everything. Maybe if I do a good deed here or there, I could get in there. Even though he's always been all his life, kind of a con man and various things, done, cheat on all his wives, did an insurrection, he mishandled COVID. The list goes on. That I could give, the way he's treated, African Americans, immigrants, and everything. And, but, that's one thing, that's one deal he can't make. That's just one thing you can't do. It's very interesting. Very interesting pumping up in here. Is that number 3. It's kind of like, and I feel like people in the background are playing with what-if scenarios and stuff like that. Like they're maybe prepping that J.D. Vance. Let me kind of go ahead and look in here. Ooh, that's double Scorpio energy coming up in here. Number 12. Number 12 is significant. We may see a little bit more, some kind of turns in December that reveal some things more maybe about the health. But the Scorpio, I don't know if it's this Scorpio or next year, but something about the Scorpio month, I rolled it twice, is popping up in there and stuff. But yeah, I didn't get the Death card. No, I didn't get that and everything. But that, that Four of Swords energy is very interesting and stuff. But they're definitely the outcome. I know what it's saying. Spirit's like, yeah, all the money in the world, you can't buy your way into heaven. That's one thing. That's one deal he can't make. And stuff. He might be able to sometimes make a little deal here or there with a little tariff here or there and all that, but that's one deal he can't do. and stuff. And that's one thing he's going to have to face when he meets his maker. Hierophant reverse kind of sees that. But one of the big things, very interesting, is that Six of Pentacles and stuff, where the beggar's change is falling into the rich person's hands. He made that happen, and it's going to cause a lot of suffering. We know with the Medicaid, the Medicare, and all those various things, and tapping everybody out with tariffs and all the suffering it's going to cause. You know, why he's like, well, maybe if I can do this, that, I can get into heaven. Oh, shit. That's one deal he can't make. Very interesting message. So, but there does seem to be an energy there. You know, the threes are popping up. Something about Scorpio. And then I feel like we're going to know something. I don't know if he's going to have a little collapse or something in December, but the 12th, the number 12 is coming up significant. So I feel like something may happen. No, I don't think he's going to pass in December. But some kind of collapse or something. I feel like something's going to give here. Something's going to break. There's going to be some kind of collapse or something like that. But I also feel prepping the JD guy. And so we'll see what happens, you guys. Hope this helps.